I just got back from that Star Wars Last Jedi. Um, yeah, I was kind of suckered into the fact that like a lot of critics were saying that this movie was like the best Star Wars movie ever, and I think they were paid by Disney because it got an 8.3 rating on IMDb, and I did see on the reviews that it had 1, 2, or 3, but I went to this movie with an open mind. I don't want people's influencing me about my decision of this movie. It's Star Wars. I want to have an open mind about it. So I'm watching this movie and okay, I I mean I have to process the information from this movie to really give like a full review, but it just felt underwhelming to me. Like this is a movie that like has I feel like nothing really happened during this movie. All this movie was about was a ship. The First Order is chasing the Resistance. I keep thinking they're the rebels, but they call themselves the Resistance, and they're chasing them through the entire movie. Finn has to go and find his code breaker, which turns out to oh yeah, there's spoilers on this video. I'm going to talk spoilers for this because I'm assuming most people have seen this, and I'm sure we're going to put spoilers on the thing right there too. So I'm going to be talking spoilers. I'm going to get into as much detail about this movie as I can because there's a lot to process and there's a lot to talk about. Now, keep in mind, there are things that I did like about this movie. I didn't think this is the worst Star Wars movie that I've seen. That still goes to Attack of the Clones. I know it's kind of debatable, but every time I think of Attack of the Clones, I'm always thinking of Anakin and Padme, and they're so boring. I mean, really freaking boring. So, when I think about that, and no one in this movie I felt was boring. I thought the actors did a passable job in this movie. I really like Poe Dameron on this one. He's starting to become kind of like my favorite character. I like Oscar Isaac. He's starting to become like a rising star to me. So his performance in this movie I thought was really good. The movie starts off with like they show like that spaceship with the General Hux. I call him Weasley because he's one of the Weasley brothers, and I don't know which one it is, so I just call him Weasley. His name's General Hux, but I think that name is fucking stupid, so I just call him Weasley. But anyway, it starts off with them in this ship, and then like they get that Poe Dameron comes with that BB-88 thing in this whatever. So they come and like they go right in front of the ship, and then he's like saying, "Is General Hux there?" And he's like, "This is General Hux. We're gonna crush you." And blah 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 blah. And they like, "Is General Hux there?" All right, will you please give a message? You know, that type of deal. I thought that was pretty funny myself. It just kind of shows like the Poe Dameron character. You know, I thought that was really funny. In fact, I did kind of enjoy what was going on in the space battle. I thought it was a pretty decent space battle in the beginning because, like, they're blowing shit up. It kind of reminded me of the beginning of the Revenge of the Sith when everything's blowing up with all these spaceships and everything. So I kind of like that. So then, after that, Poe Dameron kind of gets, um, get yelled at by General Leia. She's called General Leia now, I guess. I don't think they call her Princess Leia at all. So he gets kind of like demoted or whatever, just all of a sudden. So I guess that one, Rose's sister, there's this character in this movie, her name is Rose Tico, I think it is. She's this little Asian chick that like befriends Finn. But like she has a sister that died in the Resistance. But if you miss out on the fact that that was her sister because they briefly mention it, that's okay because she talks about it. She's crying when she first talks about her sister. But then all of a sudden it's just like gone, whatever. Like it's totally forgotten about. So you'll forget that her sister died because it's so glossed over. It's not even funny. But anyway, um, Finn finally wakes up, and I thought that they were going to have uh, kind of a long thing where Finn was going to be unconscious and everything because in the ending of Force Awakens, Finn gets knocked out by Kylo with the lightsaber thing, so he's like in a coma. So I thought maybe like for like at least for like 20 minutes of the movie or whatever, he's like out cold. But no, he just kind of wakes up. And then like he's walking through like this hallway and he has like these water squirting out of him or whatever, for like a laugh. So then like Poe comes to him and he's like, "Oh, you must have 1,000 questions." You probably seen that in the trailer. He's like, "Where's Ray?" Well, then we get into the island with Ray, and then she's like in front of Luke Skywalker. She gives him that lightsaber like the end of Force Awakens. So like they had like this big dramatic thing with Luke Skywalker. So he's like holding his lightsaber and he had the camera pan into him. They showed it in the previews. But then all of a sudden he just tosses it back. You know, like whatever, you know. So then like she keeps following him and stuff like that and he goes to this hut and he doesn't come out. So like she goes and gets that lightsaber, which this is when you first see those porgs, which I swear those porgs are just another marketing thing for the film for them to sell toys. These little things, now one of the marketing things of this film, one of the things they talked about was porgs. Look at these porgs, aren't they cute? And they are cute looking, but my god, are they annoying. I think they're like little birds or something like that. I'm not really sure, but they like little birds with like these frowns on their faces, but they have kind of like the personality of like a really cute dog, but they have like um these shrieks, like these little yell things that they have is really fucking annoying. But I mean, they're not really like Jar Jar bad or anything like that. But I mean, they're in a few scenes. They're pretty cute, I guess, but just annoying. So anyway, Chewbacca ends up breaking into his freaking cabin, and Luke's like, "Chewie, why are you here?" and all this stuff, and then Rey's trying to, convince him to, train her and stuff like that, and I guess he won't or whatever. Um, so like she keeps following him throughout the entire island. Like you see like this montage of scenes of her following him. Like he'll like pole vault over this chasm, like this little canyon thing. Even though he's like this old guy, he can still like pole vault, I guess. And you see him fishing and everything. So he gets like this big fish. I'm assuming he shares it with her and stuff like that. But so like you see a bunch of scenes with that, and then like I don't know. So uh but eventually they have like this moment together where like, and it's a really cool scene. I actually did kind of like that, where like Chewbacca was, I guess he was eating one of those porgs or whatever. I did like the campfire scene with Chewbacca though, with those porgs yelling at him and he wants to eat that porg or whatever. I like that scene. That was pretty cool. So but anyway, she ends up having like a heart to heart with Luke and everything, and eventually caves in and says, "You know what? I'll train you. 3 lessons. That's it." But the 3 lessons that he gives her was like really just nothing. So like she goes on to this. You see it in the trailer, but like he has like her on his little platform and everything, and like she's like bend down, and he's like, "What do you see? Breathe," all that stuff. So she's like seeing a bunch of shit or whatever, and he's like, "What do you see?" and blah blah blah. But like she sees like this hole in the water or whatever that's calling for her, like the darkness or whatever the hell that thing is. And then he's like, "Don't go to it, Ray!" That stuff. And then all of a sudden she comes out of it. You see like the water come up, like that she was engulfed in the water, and then she comes out of it, that stuff. And then that was like part of her first training. I don't know exactly what it did, but that's just one of her training. But then he has her like on another one, and I never could understand this scene. So like, oh shit. Okay, she had this scene where like um she's they showed it in the preview, like the second preview. She's like working with their staff and she's like by this big rock, and then all of a sudden she like gets out Luke's lightsaber. So she's holding Skywalker's lightsaber up, she's looking at it. So she does this thing, and then like you see Luke Skywalker like looking at her, and she's like practicing with the lightsaber, also like she's like so great and everything. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so why would he need to train her? He didn't even train her on the lightsaber thing, but he's looking at her like, "Oh my god, this is just freaking amazing. Look at her." And then she cuts like that rock, and then it ends up like rolling down the hill or whatever. And then like I guess Luke Skywalker just kind of like walks away, like he's all pissed off or whatever, you know. So I don't know. So like there's a okay during that time. I gotta get into this one really quick. There's a subplot in there in this movie where they have Finn and that Rose girl go out, because like what happened is that while they're trying to escape from the First Order, they were going into light speed, but they were able to track them while they're going into light speed. So like they're like, oh my god, they're tracking us. We're going into light speed. So Poe Dameron's trying to go to Laura Dern, who looks like something out of the Hunger Games. Oh yeah, Laura Dern is in this movie. That was one of the things they really made a big deal about. But she looks like that chick from the Hunger Games. Like she has like this purple hair and everything, and this dress and everything. And she's kind of a bitch to Poe, because like Poe wanted to know like what the hell is going on, what's our plan, and she's like, you stay at your post, flyboy. So anyway, so Poe gets mad and stomps off, so he decides to disobey orders again. So he ends up going to, with Finn and Rose, and they're trying to figure out about the code breaker. They end up contacting Maz Kanata, which was her only scene in this movie, like a cameo scene. And really, her whole purpose in this movie is to tell them to go to the casino island called Canto Bight, I think it's called. I want to say it's Canto Blight, but I think it's Canto Bight. So there, they're supposed to find this dude that's the code breaker. His name is DJ, but I don't think they called him DJ at all in this film. So that's another thing about Star Wars films. They never really call the characters by their name. They expect you to get the toys and find out. Which is this movie, it's all about getting the toys. So anyway, so like Finn and what's her face, Rose ends up going to Canto Bight, this casino place, and I don't know. I thought that set was pretty cool myself. I actually thought it was pretty interesting that they'll show gambling and casinos in the Star Wars film. But to be honest with you, this whole freaking like subplot with Finn and Rose was almost pointless and also infuriating at the same time. So they find like they what happened? Oh my god, it's so stupid. What happens is they get arrested, right? So like basically they had a parking violation with their ship. So they get thrown in this jail, and for some reason that's where they run into that DJ guy. They've been searching for him in the casino part, but then they end up see finding him in that jail cell. So like this guy is really annoying. So like, there's another thing, like they made this guy like a mystery, this DJ guy, but I pretty much had this character figured out just by the previews, because I thought he was a bad guy even when I saw him in the previews. But he's really annoying. Like I love like Benicio del Toro. I think he's a good actor, but my god, is this character annoying. So basically he agrees to break the code so they can stop following them with that light speed thing. So I must have fell asleep or something like that. I don't know. I rolled my eyes a lot in this film, but like they ended up uh like going into like the first order ship, and they uh they ended up getting captured because the oh, surprise surprise, the DJ, the code breaker guy, double crosses them. So they're being held captive or whatever, and this is where you finally see Captain Phasma in the movie. Now, this Captain Phasma person, a lot of Star Wars fans know about this person. She's like this woman officer in like this really like this chrome like stormtrooper uniform. I mean, her design looks really cool, and she was hyped up to be like really awesome. So we're expecting something really awesome. We didn't get that with The Force Awakens. She ends up being thrown into the garbage bin. What else she did in that movie, I don't know, because that's the only thing I remember of that character for that one. She did nothing else. So I was really hoping that she would shine on this one, but nope, sadly that doesn't happen. Because like that whole Laura Dern chick turned good. Like, all this time she had a plan, and it turns out that Finn's mission and Poe's, because Poe was trying to pretty much take over the ship basically to get to the first order or whatever. But it turns out they had a plan this whole time. So this whole like subplot with them trying to find the code breaker was kind of pointless. But there ends up being like a Finn Phasma fight, and like it, I didn't think that this would actually happen because it's the second movie. You would think this would happen in the third movie and build this character up. But like Finn actually beats this person. Like he does that thing where that stormtrooper in Force Awakens when he had called him traitor and he had that little staff thing as though him and Finn were fighting. Well, Finn had like the same thing. It's on the previews. They showed everything in the previews for this movie, but like so they end up fighting, and like all of a sudden Finn just wins and kicks her off the cliff, and And then her last words to him is, "You were always scum," or something to that effect. And he's like, "I'm rebel scum." And then all of a sudden, like, the ground collapses on her and she ends up falling to the fire below. So she's like dead. I'm like, really? They just killed off Captain Phasma, this character that they hyped up. She had 5 minutes of screen time in this movie. It was very obvious they didn't have a plan with this character from the start. So that was another infuriating moment in this movie. The very first infuriating moment, though, was because I was enjoying the movie up to this point, and like basically the first what the fuck moment was when General Leia getting blasted out of the freaking whatever she was at, the control center or whatever ship she was in. Because Kylo Ren, you see it in the preview where he like was about to blast her, but like he hesitates, and then you see her, and you know, it's all in the movie. But then he takes it off, like he takes his thumb off the trigger. But then like two of his wingmen come and like blast her to oblivion, and then all of a sudden she gets sucked out into space. So you think, oh well, she's dead. That's how she's gonna go out. But then I thought to myself, wait a minute. They said General Leia was going to be in, and I remember more scenes with General Leia in the movie too. It's like, how the hell did she survive that? Well, they show her frozen out in space, and then they have like this John Williams like, you know, emotional music or whatever, and then all of a sudden she turns into Mary Poppins, you know, Leia Poppins, as I like to call her. I'm Leia Poppins, y'all. And she ends up like putting her hand out and then going towards the ship, and and then like and then she ends up coming back, but then she ends up in a coma, and that's where Lauren Dern's character takes over. To me, that was the first what the fuck moment in the movie. There was many of those in this movie, and the one thing that my dad had a problem with Force Awakens because he wasn't going to go see The Last Jedi because of the scene in Force Awakens where Rey ended up beating Kylo Ren at the end. And I told my dad, because I heard a bunch of theories, so I'm hoping Disney was going to use these theories, like she was embracing the dark side or whatever. And I told my dad, like, I'm hearing these theories, maybe Disney has a good explanation for it. So I'm hoping I can tell my dad there's a good explanation. But nope, there was not a good explanation for it. Um, because like before the explanation happened, she ends up confronting Luke again because like Kylo tells her that Luke tried to kill him or whatever and something like to that effect. So she got really mad at him for it. But then like she beats him. How like they have this battle. It wasn't really a lightsaber battle. They end up battling with like sticks or whatever. And then Luke Skywalker was holding his own for a little bit, but then all of a sudden she gets a lightsaber, and then all of a sudden he's beaten. Like just because she had a lightsaber, he falls down to the ground, and then he just submits to her. Like this is not Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker could lift her off the ground and smash her. You know, like he's a lot more powerful than she is. Why is she more powerful than Luke? So that scene kind of like pissed me off. Like there's no way that she could be more. She had no training whatsoever. So how could she be more powerful than him? So anyway, she gets mad at him, and then she takes off to the Millennium Falcon with Chewbacca. And then she decides to board the First Order ship to go to Kylo. See, there was these scenes prior to that where she was connecting with Kylo Ren. Like, you see the scenes from Achu, as I call it, where she's like, she sees him in her vision or something. I don't know. They have some kind of connection where they can see each other in different planets, and then they can actually touch each other. Like, she would shoot at the wall or whatever, and he would, like, feel it. Like, you see him, like, bending over from the pain or whatever. So, like, she decides to go to him because, like, she wants to turn him to the light side. Even after he killed Han Solo, she still thinks she can take him to the light side. So she ends up being brought before Snoke. Well, this scene I actually thought was pretty good because finally we get to see Snoke in, like, this physical form. And he ends up like tossing around the room and everything and making her watch like the rebel ships or resistance ships or whatever. It reminded me of when the Emperor was showing Luke in Return of the Jedi, those rebel ships getting beaten by the Death Star or whatever. So he's just like making her into a rag doll. And then like he was gonna have Kylo Ren finish her off, like he was gonna have him like kill her or whatever, and she's like looking at him. And then here's Snoke saying, "I can read your every thoughts. I can read." You know, like he's basically telling him, like, there's no way that you can make a move on me because I can read your thoughts. I know every move that you're about to make. And then Kylo just uses a lightsaber next to him with his force magic or whatever and ends up killing Snoke. Like, he just rips him in half from the torso. And then Snoke falls over and he dies. And that was the end of Snoke. No backstory to him, no, not Darth Plagueis, he's just some guy that Kylo kills and then pins it on Rey later. But before that, they end up having this big fight with these Red Guards. I thought that scene was cool. It was about the only lightsaber battle in the movie was Kylo and Rey teaming up against those Red Guards. And I really did like the set in there with all the red and everything. I thought that was pretty cool too. And then after the fight ends, like I said, it was a really cool fight. Kylo tries to bring her over to his side, like let's rule the galaxy together, kind of like what Anakin did to Padme. And I thought maybe at some point that him and what's her face Rey was gonna fuck, but that didn't happen. She ends up taking her hand out, and then they battle over Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. But then it ends up getting destroyed, you know. But so like she ends up leaving, and Kyle ends up pissed. And then at the end of the movie, they're at this place called Crate, but it's like this planet filled with salt. I like that one though. Well, like they're like the ships are there and they're like battling out. John Williams like has like the revisit of his New Hope music, you know, dun 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 dun. Dun. That was pretty cool. So, but then like the Resistance get trapped in like this mine or whatever, and then all of a sudden like Luke comes out and he has like this emotional scene with Leia. I thought that scene was good, a bit short, but it was still a pretty good scene. I was glad that those two weren't together on screen for one last time. But then like Luke comes out there, and this is really cool too because like there's this big like battlefield, and you see those AT walkers surrounding him and everything. First they blast him, and that didn't work. So Kylo comes down there to confront him, and I was like, oh wow, this would be a good battle sequence between the two. You know, this is gonna be awesome. You know, but nope, that doesn't happen. Kylo comes, slashes Luke, then come to find out that Luke was a hologram this whole time. So then Luke ends up disappearing. Kyle ends up screaming. But then you see Luke like sitting there on that little platform that Rey was on earlier in the film, and he's looking out at the sun or whatever, and you hear Luke Skywalker's theme. Then all of a sudden he just disappears, and his cloak just like flies away, and Luke Skywalker is dead. Like this is like the most bullshit way to kill Luke Skywalker. It reminded me of when Captain Kirk died in Star Trek Generations. It reminded me of that. And I was like, oh my god. Because I had a feeling they would kill Luke, but I wanted Luke to have sort of a noble death. Not just die just because he had a broken heart or whatever the fuck it is that he died for. So that really freaking sucked. And that was another scene that pissed me off. Basically, Luke in this entire movie was nothing more than a grumpy, old, whiny Jedi master or has been who bitches about everything, doesn't want to go and confront anybody because he feels like he's nothing, all because he failed Kylo Ren. And he's afraid he might kill him or whatever. That's what I'm getting out of it because that was his conversation with Leia. I might have to kill him, and if you have to, that's fine, that type of deal. So, and then all of a sudden he just like turns into a hologram and dies. I thought that was a kind of a cop out. Why would they think of him turning into a hologram? If this is the last time that you're going to see Luke Skywalker in physical form in this movie, because I'm assuming he's going to be a ghost on the next one, why would they? I don't understand why it would be a hologram myself. That was like freaking stupid. And why would he die from that? I don't know. It's just really stupid. So like, then like the movie ends with them on to the Millennium Falcon or whatever, and they're all like happy or whatever. You see them all smiling and shit, and then they're going off into light speed in the Millennium Falcon or whatever. Kylo is now ruling with the First Order now. And then once they go off the light speed, I thought, okay, the music's going, this is the end. Nope, it goes into these kids at the end, where like they're looking at the stars or whatever, and this kid had like that rebellion thing that I think Leia had it or something like that. I don't remember, but somebody had it, and then all of a sudden the movie closes out there. And this only tells me that their next project, episode 9, is focusing on new characters and flashing forward, and I'll explain why Leia's not there anymore when they have like these new characters. And like what they wanted for this one, they're just going to have these characters in this movie in the background. Because that's what's going to happen in episode 8, but when Rey and Finn were really popular, they decided to shoehorn them in there. That's why this movie is such a fucking mess, is because he had a different story beforehand, but like They decided to just put them in there, rewrite the story, and it doesn't. It does. I don't know what their original idea was, but it's probably less of a mess than this one. I personally, I have to see this movie again because after I seen it, I'm like, what? Maybe I'll have a better I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like a better experience the next time seeing it. But as of right now, I just thought this was not a satisfactory. I mean, if you're gonna bring Luke Skywalker in there, you gotta bring it. And I don't know. I just thought this movie was more disappointing than Force Awakens. Still not as bad as Attack of the Clones for me, but I would probably put this movie second to last on the list. Yes, I even think Phantom Menace is better than this movie. That's pretty sad. But like I said, I'll have to see it a second time to see if it's still in that category. But as of right now, I feel like this movie was kind of a mess. It pretty much horrible. I hate seeing that about a Star Wars movie, but that's how I feel about it. So that's really my take on Star Wars The Last Jedi. I thought Mark Hamill's performance of Luke Skywalker was good, especially since he didn't really want to, be in this role for this movie because of what they did to him. But I thought he did a pretty good job. I liked Ray. Poe is becoming like my favorite. I was hoping they'll kill Finn off in that one scene where he was going towards that big gun. I'm like, yes, they're gonna kill Finn because I really don't can't stand that character. But unfortunately, that Rose saves him and she ends up getting knocked out. It looked like she was dead, but it looks like they're pulling a Finn from the last one because Finn's like putting her in the bed and everything, and oh my god, is she still alive or whatever? But if they're jumping forward in the future, I guess it doesn't matter. I don't know what's going to happen in episode 9, but all I know is that I don't know. I'm not really looking forward to any more future Star Wars films. It's not the Star Wars name that gets me to go. It's the characters that really get me to go to these movies. And the story too, but like I mean how many stories can you tell with these kind of movies? But all in all, if I had to rate this movie, I would have to rate it a 3. And like I said, it might go up the next time I see it, but I have to agree with the audience's perspective of the movie because I know the audience like hated it. I'm on the same boat with it. I went in with an open mind, so that's my review of Star Wars: Last Jedi. I don't know how long this video is. Good luck editing it, Brian.